Peace, peace, Brother Duma. Peace. Move to God. Peace, peace. Fluffy one. Peace. Greetings, Susie. Well, greetings, everyone. We're waiting for a few more people to show up, then we'll begin. Okay. Greetings. All right, a couple more people, y'all, and then we'll begin. Just letting people come on in. While we're waiting, of course, today's topic is creating a vampire servitor, or creating servitors as a vampire magician. So this will go into a topic that I've been asked quite a few times for me to do. So we're going to go into it. Peace, Trina. All right, so Obsidian Goddess, peace. All right, let's begin. All right, servitor creation and astral entities. Creating a servitor is not a simplistic task, but if successful, is very useful in evocation sorcery. Now, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar, but there is a difference between invocation and evocation. So let's go over that real briefly. Invocation is when you basically summoning or embodying the energy, frequency, vibration, characteristics, or energy of an archetype, a spirit, or things of that nature. Evocation is when you summon the actual entity or spirit in front of you for to do your bidding, to answer questions, or whatever the case may be. So right here, we're speaking about evocation, since we're creating a servitor to carry out tasks or work for us. That's more of an evocation method. Vampire magician who is able to create a vampiric servitor must utilize caution. We always emphasize caution in your workings for various reasons, but we'll get to that in a little while. Such an entity is mindless and is connected to the mind itself. So when you create a servitor, they don't have a consciousness. They don't have a mind. They basically have the consciousness you use to create that servitor. In other words, it's an extension of yourself or extension of your mind. Proper foundations in banishing or absorbing should be known and practiced to absorb the servitor accordingly. For a simplistic method of evocation, let's take the following steps. If you are able to grasp these following steps with ease, then perfect. If not, then you might have to do some more investigational work to utilize your method or system to create a servitor. Servitor should relate the vampiric approach you will want to take. The servitor will be used to feed from another or to carry out other tasks that you see fit. So the servitor should have visualized attributes similar to a vampiric shadow, perhaps an animalistic, bestial bat. It can take place of a shadow figure. It can take place of one of those or many of those kind of entities. It may be as horrific or as beautiful as you wish when you create your servitor. Now, how do you create your servitor? The servitor should be bound to some object, okay? Whether it's a ring, whether it's something that you find of value, some object that you will utilize, the servitor should be bound to this object. Pretty much almost similar to like working with the jinn. When you're working with the jinn, you bound them to a ring, you bind them to some kind of object or thing of that nature. Perhaps you can create an object or use a photocopy of an image, but some aspects of something with it, like a bat, leather backing to symbolize wings, animal fangs, etc. So whatever kind of servitor you are creating, you want to have some kind of image that reflects what you're trying to create, some kind of object that reflects what you're trying to create. You want to then use saliva, blood, or sexual fluid to consecrate and give the servitor the charge of your own being. Now, this is very important because you're actually utilizing your own life force or life current or life energy. This is why you want to make sure that your mind is straight before you do this. Because when you create this servitor, they basically are unconscious, and you basically bring consciousness into the servitor. If your consciousness is skewed, diluted, or tampered with in any way, well, then the servitor is going to reflect that. So this is why we constantly state that it's important that you deal with many of your issues, problems, pains, whatever the case may be, deal with them wholeheartedly with serious intention. Because if you don't, then your servitor is going to be a reflection of you. Considering especially that when you consecrate the object that you'll be binding this servitor in, you're consecrating with your own saliva, okay, which your DNA can be traced through your saliva, your blood, which is a very powerful elixir, okay, or your sexual fluid, which is even sometimes more powerful than the first two, especially if it's charged correctly. So when you utilize your own fluids and you bring this fluid to charge up the creation of the servitor, really make sure that you're doing the work properly, but you've done work on your basic subconscious mind first and foremost. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and do one. And any problems you have, you'll start to see how this servitor reflects that. And then that can bring problems into your life. All right? So, number one, create an object for the servitor. It should be based on what you want the servitor to embody. So, whatever object it is, like for example, my servitor, I have a bat sitting on a tombstone. That's where I bind mine at, okay? Because I use the bat vampiric shadow, I bind it to that tombstone, all right, with the bat on top. Light a single candle and stimulate yourself to a ritual kind of masturbation. And like we said before, do not ejaculate immediately just because you reach that very strong climatic point. Take it to the edge and then repeat the process. The more energy, the more sexual energy you create, the stronger your charging is of this object that you're binding the servitor to. Okay, then anoint the sigil object with something of you, as we said earlier, your blood, your fluid, or saliva. I prefer the saliva or sexual fluid. I don't always use my blood. In rare cases, I've done that, but I prefer using my sexual fluid or saliva to do much of my work. That's just a personal preference. I don't have a problem using my blood in certain instances, like certain pacts that you make with spirits. Sometimes may require a little blood. And I'm not talking about animal sacrifice. I'm talking about your personal blood. Okay, you take a medical lancet, you take a dab. Basically, it creates a hole. You get a little dab of blood and you put it on the object. It's all depending on your personal preference. I just use fluid and saliva for my workings. Now, once you create the servitor, in order to really give it an identity, consciousness, and characteristics, you have to name the servitor. Whatever you choose, whatever you feel. I'm working on a second servitor, and I showed you guys the statue that I'm using for that, the vampiric statue I showed y'all last week. That's the one I'm working on now. And I've created a name for that one. So it's important to give it a name. Give it a name, you give it an identity, you give it a characteristics, you give it something, okay? You will want to hold the object or sigil and focus your astral body flowing into it. This is where visualization comes into play. This is where your imagination, visualization are very important in this kind of work. If you find that you're unable to utilize your imagination or visualization skills, this may be a little difficult for the individual to actually create and manifest the servitor. So you might want to practice on your visualization skills. We've gone over some examples of how to do that using your crystal and putting on an altar and staring at that crystal for nothing but 2 minutes. Then you close your eyes. When you close your eyes, do you see that image? And how long can you hold that image in your mind's eye? That's just some examples, but you have to practice this visualization in order to really, really create a servitor. All right. You will want to hold the sigil and focus your astral body flowing into it, giving it the initial charge it needs. Then recite the mantra of the name you created, recite it over and over until you get to such a rhythmic pace with the mantra that the words start to merge into one and they almost become unintelligible to understand. And in this way, kind of forget the name on a conscious level because the words merge all together. In the Sufi practice of dickering, and when we did our Sufi circles, there was times where we would chant the word Allah, not the American way, Allah, okay, but with tone and vibration, Allah, okay, you can feel it coming from the diaphragm up, and we would do that, Allah, 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 until you do it, and there's like 20 people in a circle, and everybody's doing this at once. The words almost become unintelligible, but what happens is the vibration frequency becomes stronger, charging up the room, the work that you're doing, or whatever the case may be. Well, this is almost the same way, okay? This is almost the same way as that, okay? Now, once you recite the mantra over and over and over, then you move on to binding it to you in such a way. You can create your own invocation for this, okay? Evocation for this. And this one, the Vampyre Gate by Michael W. Ford, he uses, in the name of Lilith, mother of vampires, I empower you object to be the shell which housed the vampiric servitor of Lilith. I name you, whatever name, you will serve me in the way of drinking the astral blood of another, or the astral life force of another. You will return it to me and I will grow stronger. Now, for mine, I usually use Sekhmet, Kali, or Set or Sitech, okay? When I create this, sometimes I'll utilize Khansu. I'll utilize Emit. Depends on what I'm working with or what the purpose of the servitor is. You may want to create your own evocation, something similar to this, but your own personal touch to it to really bind the servitor to you, okay? Now, after you do this, you may want to sit in a meditative position, close your eyes and visualize whatever sigil you use, whatever visualization came to you, utilize it in your meditative position while you're meditating until you see this image or object where you binded the servitor vivid in your mind. Okay? It has to be vivid, not vague. The problem with society right now is that many times when you ask an individual a question, you'll get a vague answer instead of a vivid answer. Be careful of people who give you vague answers. And the reason why I say that is because if they're giving you a vague answer, they have things that they're trying to hide, or there's things that they just refuse to indulge in or partake in, or they just don't know. So always try to clarify with that person to get a more vivid answer. If they're able to then go from vague to vivid, and pay attention, okay? Because the vivid answer is what you should be keen on listening for and really understanding the difference between a vague and vivid answer. Sometimes we just get vague answers and we accept it, and basically it's a blow off sometimes. So you really got to pay attention to that. All right. Visualize now the sigil of the servitor you have created. Holding it, send it outward and through the center of the sigil or symbol you're using to bind the servitor. You may use the servitor to see, project your consciousness through it, and move towards your chosen victim or chosen destination or chosen target. If it is around 3 a.m., most likely the individual will be sleeping. If not, you'll have to choose a cycle close to when they will be in deep sleep. Okay? So it's important to understand now, when you're trying to work some of this, you have to know your intended target that you're going to send the servitor to do work for you. You have to kind of know when that intended target is asleep. So you might need to know a little information before you just go and randomly do this stuff. Okay, send the servitor forth to do your bidding. After about a period of 15 minutes, you want to call it back. No longer than 15 minutes. Allow the astral body of the servitor to flow back into you, and with it, the energy it drained from the chosen person, or for whatever work you choose or chose. Feel part of the life force making you stronger. Allow the servitor to return to the object of which you have made for it. Now, it's interesting because during this week, somebody in this chat room, I'll just put it like this, somebody in this chat room visited me in my sleep. I ain't gonna say no names, but I saw them. Just telling you, I saw you. Anyways, all right, so astral vampirism from the material body. Astral flight is a powerful state in vampiric development. Very important. You can't really be a vampire magician or sorcerer if you don't at least understand how to do astral projection. It's very difficult. I'm just going to say that. You have to, before you really can just like say, okay, I'm going to take off into the vampiric magic, if this is something you flow with, you got to really start mastering the astral projection astral travel. You have to. I'm sorry, but you have to. Okay? Because otherwise than that, you're kind of missing out on some of the most important work that you do in vampire magic. It's not just, you don't just go into the astral to, let's say, feed energy. You don't just go into the astral to, let's say, whatever. You go into the astral for other reasons as well. Like I said before, you can go into the astral for job promotions. You need a job promotion, you want a higher salary. You send them to your boss, the servitor to your boss, or you go yourself and you project this thought into their mind. You drop the seed into their mind. And what you do, okay, is when you do that, you create the results to happen in the material plane or material world that you're living in, so you get the result that you were intending for it to be. So it's many purposes why you would want to project astrally. You can do it for knowledge, wisdom. You can do it to meet your ancestors. You can do it for various reasons. But as a vampire, we do it for several reasons. One of them is life force energy. Vampires a lot of times appear to be human, but they're really hardwired differently than the average person. A vampire needs energy from people. It literally feeds off energy from people. And many people who are vampiric have been doing this unconsciously. For many years, they've been shaking people's hand and getting a charge of it. They've been around person hugging or touching them and getting a charge off of it. If this is possibly you, then you may have been a part of the vampiric current for thousands of years. Many people do not understand this as well. We have so many people deal in the conscious community who deal with kemet, and they don't even understand some of it, because not a lot of the information has ever truly been revealed to the masses of people. They've kept a lot of the records. So don't think you know it all when it came to kemet or come to kemet. They've kept a lot of the records. Okay. But one thing you have to understand is Aset, okay, Isis, she was responsible for creating a vampiric line as well. Okay. Set or Sitek or Satuk was responsible for also creating a vampiric line of people there's human descendants of this lineage today. You trace to one of those vampiric lineages, whether it's Aset, Set, Sitek, Sekhmet, you can trace back to that. And as time went on, as Egypt got invaded, a lot of these high priests tended to travel to different parts of Africa, and some even went up into the Middle East and Arabia, places like that. But they tended to travel to parts of Africa, and this is where the vampiric teachings passed on. And some of the priesthood in West Africa, people have lost sight and don't even realize that they're also part of this vampiric lineage. Okay. But I'll go quickly and just share this. Okay. Set. Many practitioners in the vampire community link vampirism back to the Kemetic god of Set. A lot of Egyptologists, through their studies, have recently suggested that Set is just a deification of an Egyptian high priest from a very early time, and that the rivalry between Set and Asar represents a rivalry between competing temples. In the Setting's view, Set was a high priest of a temple who developed a ritual of death and rebirth that allowed the soul to achieve immortality. The Settingers believe that the rites described in the Coming Forth by Day or the Egyptian Book of the Dead are only improperly recollected versions of this ritual. Set chose 72 associates, which people call the Sabal or the 72 demons of Set. Set chose 72 associates to undergo this ritual with him and to travel eternity as undying spirits which were eternally renewed. The vampiric condition was a side effect of this ritual. They also believe then that vampirism is a spiritual condition and it represents immortality as the soul is immortal and capable of reincarnation. Through past life regressions, one can recall itself. Setians feed primarily upon life energy and generally abstain from the physical drinking of blood. So, Set, as what we commonly know, is not the Set that is commonly spoken about within the Kemetic conscious circles, or even within people who just are loosely learning of Set. Okay, this is more in-depth information about Set, and you might be related to that if you have found yourself always feeding off of energy unconsciously, and now that you're conscious of it, you start to look back at your life, you say, whoa, I always did that. Okay, so pay attention when you do a lot of these things, because you're going to start finding that there's certain things about you that may be related to this, and you just may be that vampiric spirit to one of these lineages, whether it's to Aset, whether it's to Set, whether it's to Sekhmet, whether it's to Kali, Lilith. You're connected to one of these. If you just can't go a week without absorbing somebody's energy, without feeling you need to be around somebody and just getting that energy, you feel like you gotta seduce somebody to just get them to feed you your energy, their energy, yeah, you might be that individual who's from the vampiric lineage. All right, so let me say this again. Astral flight is a powerful state in vampiric development. The Luciferian spirit, which is related to the vampiric spirit, is centered in the element air, thus relating to the astral body itself. The witch's Sabbath in the Luciferian witchcraft tradition is founded in a dreaming or astral conclave, the subjective experience from which a level of initiation occurs. Tiamat is also one of the goddesses of vampires. The method of sorcery of draining astral energy should be practiced in everyday life. While secretly, of course, you don't want to be out here broadcasting, promoting that you feeding off of life energy, or people are going to look at you like you're crazy because they're programmed. So you should do this secretly with the intent of immortality. Much of the practice of vampirism from a Luciferian focus is based around the ancient systems, whether it's Babylon, Sumeria, Kemet. That's where a lot of its focus is based upon those ancient systems. One may practice vampirism in the following manner. This is going to help some. If you have this question, this is going to help you now. Physical contact, handshake, brush up against somebody, handing something to an individual. I don't know if any of y'all have ever shook somebody's hand and felt like a tremendous surge of energy from that person. It charged you up. That's vampirism in its simplest, basic form. If you felt that before and you just said, whoa, this person has some serious energy, I need that, you could possibly be a vampire magician. Okay? Number 2, sight. Sight. Imagine a serpent extending from your body to enter their body. When I do this, I utilize a pep, okay? The imagery of a pep to tap into whatever target to start draining some of that life force or sexual force, okay? Ritual setting. In a ritual chamber, using image or word-created image to focus the mind on. Okay? So you use a ritual setting in a ritual chamber using the image or word-created image to focus the mind on. So you focus your mind on the intended target or the intended work in a ritual setting. Dreaming or nightmare practice. Perhaps the most powerful, but also the most difficult. This belongs to those with a special talent or skill, such as the individual who visited me during this week. Okay? If you're able to tap into somebody's dreams or nightmares and leave an impression on their mind where they recollect this, you or whatever you were trying to plant in their mind, then you're a vampire. You're basically doing the work to tap into that frequency and vibration, to tap into relating and revealing certain information or getting some life force energy. Okay? Some of y'all, I'm sure, and I know a couple of y'all, and I can just say this without even looking at the names in the chat room. Some of y'all naturally place yourself in people's mind. And you know this because somebody will contact you later and say, yo, I just dreamed about you. Yes, you did dream about him because this person possibly unconsciously tapped into your dream state as a vampire energy, unconsciously, not even realizing they're doing this. And they connected with you and left an impression or fed some energy off you. And you woke up feeling like, whoa, why is this person popping up in my head when I've only seen him once or twice in my life, or I've only seen him in passing or whatever the case may be? That's because they have an energy, a vibration, a frequency that you feel you have to have because it becomes almost like a drug, an alcohol, or something like you just got to have it. Special cases for special or different things. All right. Draining energy is best done by the connection to sight. In a crowded room, a concert, a mall, a gathering point, watch for those who exhibit a lot of charisma and energy. Lock into their solar plexus with your eyes. Watch them, their breathing cycle. With your breathing, draw in and imagine their life essence draining into your being. Let me repeat this little part again. Okay, because some of y'all may have asked or were wondering, well, how do I really work this? Let me say it again. Draining energy is best done by the connection to sight in a crowded room, a concert. Some of y'all have gone party to the Beyonce Jay-Z concert recently. Poo ass people just freely giving you their energy. A mall. People are shopping, they're distracted. All they care about is getting the nice new clothes or new shoes or whatever, them red bottoms or, you know what I'm saying, the polo shirts or whatever. They're distracted. They're not paying attention to you. But they're freely giving you their energy because they're there to share energy. In other words, their energy is focused on outward. It's on getting this or buying this or doing that. You just sit there, you could easily drain on some of that energy. All right? So in these areas, there's a lot of people. But look out for the person who exudes that charisma, who exudes that energy, exudes that attraction, that seduction. That's the person you want to tap into. Okay? Lock into their solar plexus with your eyes. Bingo. Right into their eye, right around here. Tap into that area and watch the way they breathe, and then rhythmically tune into their breathing cycle and imagine you taking every breath into you from them. Okay? So when you understand that, you start to understand how this really works. It's not as difficult. It's just something you have to really practice. Something you really have to dedicate practice time to and discipline to get it down pat. The significance of the Luciferian path in relation to vampirism is devouring God. Applying Darwinist principles in this magical process will aid the initiatory path of becoming a being like Lucifer in the capacity in which you seek to be. It is essential to focus on accumulating enough energy to further develop yourself towards devouring Godhead. What is good? Everything that heightens the feeling of power in man, the will to power, power itself. That's by Friedrich Nietzsche. Good and evil are opinions and states of mind. Be careful not to subjugate all of your so-called morals in one ideological corner. It could limit your possibilities. This does not mean, however, that you should shift paradigms or what you believe in constantly. Just be flexible enough to grow. Physical energy vampirism, touch. Okay? Now we're going to get to the touch. Here's something that y'all need to know. Some people who practice Reiki are vampires. Some people are actually vampire magicians, you may not even be aware of it, who practice Reiki. That's a different story, though. This type of vampirism is the process which requires a discipline to practice a feeding focus with those whom you come in contact with. This energy, once you have enter their energy field, will flow into your own astral body with your breath. The very importance of practicing yoga and the discipline associated with it will teach you the points of bodily and mental control. Number 1, establishing contact, handshake, something handed to you, brushing up against an individual. Draw an energy with both your nose and mouth. Slow, steadily, and visualize the energy flowing into you. Once your lungs are filled, break contact and allow yourself to exhale slowly. You will feel a slight surge of energy. Control it. Not always slight. In some cases, you're going to feel a very strong surge of energy. So strong, it's going to send you through the roof, but still control it. Sight vampirism, developing tendrils or arms from the astrals depending upon the discipline, power, and experience of the vampire. If you have practiced touch vampirism for some time, your level and power will increase accordingly. Sight vampirism is done so by envisioning a tendril, an arm, a serpent, or something extending from your own astral body and entering your chosen target. It is imperative, however, not to harm anyone. The purpose of this you're not trying to harm anyone. You're trying to just get enough life force energy to charge yourself up, because everything replenishes itself. So you're not going to take everything from someone. That take enough where they replenish themselves. Move on, move on. Notice energy-filled individuals. With eyes locked into the solar plexus, imagine a serpent or tendrils from your body into their astral body. Watch and determine their breathing cycle. You will drain according to this. As they exhale, begin drawing in energy by breathing deeply through both your mouth and nose. Bring this breath constant until your lungs are filled. Imagine the tendrils or serpents are released and drawn back. Breathe slowly and control your bodily movements. Repeat if necessary. Ritual vampirism. Utilizing a mirror, which is symbolic of Lilith or Kali or Sekhmet or Set, have an image of the individual in question ready. So whoever your intended target is, have a picture of that individual. Or something that you can quickly focus on the image of that person. This may include a photo, but could be a drawing or a name written on a paper. Depending on your ability, if you have something of your chosen, have it in the right, hold it and focus upon it. Okay? So if you have something that belongs to this individual, use it in the ritual. Hold it while doing the ritual. Best to hold it in your non-dominant hand and focus upon it. Calling the vampiric forces in terms of ritual focus, visualize forces coming to you, acting according to your will. Imagine now your victim in the mirror. Send forth your astral shadow to them. Imagine breaking into the astral body through the object and the mirror. Draw in 9 deep breaths from both your nostrils and mouth. Exhale slowly, controlling your bodily movements. Keep calm during ritual. You may conduct this several times in different days. You may notice by this process the focused individual will grow tired and sick. Use caution in ritual-focused vampirism. Responsibility is, of course, the most important. People should never be harmed by any vampiric process. Rituals are essential in establishing a link with the current, the vampiric current. It does not matter if you believe in a subjective spirit world or if you view it as a psychological link, or both. Practice, practice, and practice, and record your results. Dream vampirism. Utilizing yoga techniques, gain complete and calm control of the body. This calm should be near perfect. Meditate on your chosen victim before sleeping. Visualize how you wish to drain their energy. Starting with your mind and face, visualize your astral body shape-shifting into whatever form you desire. This may be a demonic form or a specific animal. This is your choice. Focus on a mirror or on the image. Lie back on your bed and close your eyes. Each breath should be a focus on your astral body rising. Entering sleep, your dreams will be often intense and hungering. This is a prime indication of your subconscious being focused on your atavistic and vampiric desires. If your astral project without sleeping, control your movement and move in. Imagine the entire process. See it as clearly as if you were there. Belief is the key to any successful magical working. Drain enough of the life force and leave the victim sleeping or resting. All right, now, some of you all have sex spirits visiting you, sexual spirits visiting you. It's quite possible that depending on the sexual spirits that visit you, that you belong to one or two priesthoods in the past. There's two main priesthoods who develop sexual spirits, okay? There was the day side sexual spirits and the night side sexual spirits, okay? The night side sexual spirits belong to the priesthood of Set or Sut, Set, whatever, okay? The day side belonged to the priesthood of Asar. This has been going on thousands of years now. And you're of such a high sexual vibration and frequency that you attract and draw people to you who just need to be around you because your sexual energy is so high. But the side effect to that is in your dream state or sleep state, you also draw sexual spirits to you, okay? Spirits always seek a substance to make contact or interact into this physical plane. Besides liquor, things of that nature, many times spirits seek sexual energy, okay? If you are of a high sexual vibration or frequency, then what you're drawing to you are sometimes these sexual spirits who come in contact with you during your sleep state. Some call them incubi one, succubi one, or group incubus, succubus. Fine. Not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It could just be spirits in general. I'm not talking about gods, goddesses, archetypes. There's something completely different. We're talking about spirits. Spirits were entities or human beings that once lived on this planet Earth, okay? Now have deceased in the spiritual form, who were flesh and blood beings now in the spirit form. These spirits feed off of sexual energy. They desire it. Okay, this is why in Voodoo you have the Gay Day. The Gay Day are not just spirits of the dead. There's groups of Gay Day. There's many groups of Gay Day, and some of the groups of the Gay Day are strictly about sexual energy. Okay, so if you're being visited by sex spirits, it's because you exude a high level of sexual vibration frequency, and you may not even be aware of it. Unconsciously, you may not. You might be unconscious to it, but these spirits feed off of that. So what they tend to do is they tend to focus in on the people who have that strong vibration and frequency, sexual energy, and they come and have sexual acts with you in the astral realm or in a sleep state. What happens is that they're basically trying to drain you sexual energy it can, or at the same time, you, when you become aware of it, can drain them of that energy. But what happens is what can become kind of harmful is that if you constantly stay unaware of these things and they drain you so much that you're drained in the physical world. Two, they try to impregnate you or get you to impregnate them in the astral realm so they can give birth to more of their children in the astral or spiritual realm. So you have to really pay attention to these things and understand these things when you're starting to work on this level of work, okay? Because some of you all are now just starting to become conscious of your high sexual energy. You've probably known this all your life, but didn't really focus on it. But now, at this moment in time, due to your path and your work, you're really becoming conscious of it, and you're starting to question a lot of things. Well, that's because, as I said before, you might be of one of those priesthood lineages who were within the large priesthood. They had temples focused strictly upon sex, sexual energy, how to work sex, how to please, how to work the energy, all these things. Okay? Do not let anybody fool you and ever make you think that Kemet was a fluffy ass place, that everybody just was fluffy and loving and divine and caring. That is some bullshit new age mentality that's not real, did not exist, and never has. If you really go into the teachings of Kemet and you really study it, you will see that they have some very deep, dark aspects of rituals and workings and things of that nature. Okay? So you have to understand, it's not what we think. Not even close to it. So in certain temples, like Temple of Min, right? They did certain rituals. Rituals of raising the apron. Did you have enough penis control to raise the apron? Were you able to flex your penis in such a way that you could raise the apron? Were you able to bring yourself to the edge without ejaculating and had more dick control? Okay? Were you able to be seduced without giving in to ejaculation? All these things are important to understand as a man. For women, they had different temples. The temple of Heteru, okay? Sekhmet also had, which is related to Heteru, an aspect of that as well. So you have to understand, when you're working this, yes, you're working with spirits. Yes, you're going to come in contact with sexual spirits. It's only a matter of time if you haven't yet. Have y'all ever noticed that the more spiritual you become, come on, finish the sentence. Have you ever noticed that the more spiritual you become, the more sexual you become at the same time? You do a spiritual work. You're doing a ritual. You're all into the ritual. You're feeling your spiritual energies high. Next thing you know, you're horny. That's because we separate the two as if they're two foreign energies that had no idea of each other. Bullshit. Most spiritual energy is the same vibration frequency as sexual energy and frequency. This is why you feel them both. And they both will rise, but because we're trying to be so spooky and spiritual, we try to downplay the sexual energy rising and just focus on, oh, I'm so divine. I'm so compassionate and so connected to the universe. Please, cut it out. All right? Then you have this other side of you that we tend to not want to deal with because it's just not spiritual enough and don't even understand it. Okay? This is the same frequency of vibration. When you feel one, you're going to feel the other. If you pay attention, you'll feel the other. The point is this, my people. If you don't repress, if you don't suppress these things, then you start to learn how to work it, master it, and control it in your work. That's the purpose of all this. Why do you think that when you're doing a drumming ritual, let's say we're at a bembe, or you're doing a drumming ritual in general, and you feel the spirit hit you, why do you think you get horny? It's because the movement, the rhythm of the drums is focused on what part of your body? The hips, the navel, the navel chakra and the root chakra. That's where it's focused on hitting you. So why do you think most of the dances that have African drums to this day here in the West or in Africa, most of the dances are focused on moving the hips? Whether it's salsa that they do in Cuba and Puerto Rico, whether it's merengue from the Dominican Republic, okay? Whether it's dance hall reggae, whether it's reggaeton, whether it's calypso or soca, more so soca. Why do you think you're moving your hips constantly? Because you're raising the Kundalini, and the drum rhythm and tones and vibrations are hitting your root in a navel area to raise up the Kundalini. This is why when that starts to rise, you will sometimes be ridden or mounted by a spirit, because you're merging the two energies to come together. So what's the main thing that was stolen or taken from melanated people, mostly here in the West, but mostly here in America, because some places the drum survived in the islands? They took the drums away for that specific purpose, because they knew we had the ability to rise this power, this energy, this consciousness within us through the Kundalini. So if I can take that away from you, I can also take it to control you and make you a soulless person. And that's the purpose of that. But lo and behold, our ancestors work in mysterious ways. I may not like all of this new music, the trap music and shit like that, but if y'all really listen to the rhythms of this trap music, it's Caribbean-based rhythm. Most of it nowadays is coming out with some Caribbean rhythms deeply embedded in the sound. Anyways, it's another story. But this is why you feel what you feel. You can be at a bembe, you get mounted by a spirit, afterwards you're horny as fuck. Because you rose the Kundalini, spontaneous rising Kundalini. The problem with our African traditions is we don't know how to keep it there. What I mean is we can rise it. We've always known how to rise the Kundalini, but we've never in our system ever really mastered on how to keep it there, but for a few places, and one of them is in Kemet. And that's why they destroyed some of that in Kemet and the information, because that's one of the main places they learn how to rise it and keep it risen. So it's all connected, Joel, and this sexual spirits that visit you are there for a reason. Sometimes they're visiting you because you're suppressing it in your daily life. So they come to you because that's an outlet for you. Another reason why they visit you is because you're from their lineage, their bloodline, their tribe or priesthood. So when they tap into that tribe or priesthood and connect with you, they're doing it for a reason. Okay? So when you connect these dots, you start to see how these things are all interconnected. You start to understand it. There is no separation. We create the separation through our mortal minds to always want to put something in some nice, neat compartment so that we can make sense of it. But in reality, there is no separation. We do that. And when we do that, we dilute the information, we confuse the information, and it disconnects us in some way, shape, form, or fashion. We take knowledge that comes from Kemet and we want to make it super spooky. We want to say that the Egyptians didn't practice sexual things. They practiced Tantra and cultivated their sexual energy. Bullshit. Okay, some cases, maybe, but in most cases, not happening. All right, this is the problem. So we hear these concepts of cultivating your sexual energy, abstinence, and not doing things like that, you're jacking yourself up. I mean, literally, you're jacking yourself up, because those systems don't come from us. They came from India and Dravidian concepts that filtered into Kemet in modern day age from people wanting to combine the two systems, okay, and getting further away from Kemet. Kemet had different morals and different mentality than we do today. What we see as normal, they would see as not normal, and what we see is not normal, they would see as normal. But because we've been so conditioned and programmed, we have a problem to really understand that, to really work that. So this is what's leading to a lot of the confusion or misunderstanding or the guilt or things of that nature. So you have to understand these things are all interconnected. The vampiric, sexual spirits visiting you, all this is a part of a larger work to master yourself. And you're just utilizing different aspects to understand different concepts that exist within this time frame you're in. Now, I'm going to take questions now. Well, first, before I take questions, let me scroll up, see what my good people is saying. Then we'll get into the question part. Yeah, Andre, they did know what they was doing by visiting me. Yeah, they knew what they was doing. All right. That's right, Trina. Some of these spirits have been there since you were a young child to even older. Okay, like I said, they have no morality. Human morality based upon the society we live in. You were 12 years old, the spirit's grinding on you. You understand? They don't see that as you 12 years old. They just see the energy and vibration you possess. In today's term, that spirit be locked up. Anyway, that's another story. So, exactly, Trina. You have the sexual energy. What do you do with it? Do you misuse it? Do you just throw it away? Or do you use it to empower yourself? This is what is most important about understanding sexual energy, about understanding your sexual power. How do you use it? Anything that comes with power, any kind of power. Power can be a drug. Power is what we all seek, some way, shape, form, and fashion. But it all comes down to how you use that power. All right. Of course, Andre Polk, sex drive has increased in this world. And of course it's going to increase because most of this world have been suppressed sexually for hundreds of years now. Now, all of a sudden, the boundaries and the borders and the walls and the limitations of sex are coming down, and it's increased the sex to come out. And that's thousands and millions of people who are sexually repressed. That's going to be a lot of sexual energy coming out. The problem is, most of us, I'm not talking about people in this room, but just talking about humanity in general, most of us have never been taught how to really utilize that sexual energy or how to work it, and it can become detrimental. And when it comes out in aggressive, even violent ways. That's why you're seeing the increase of rapes and things of that nature, is because it's been repressed, not dealt with, not talked about. So now that it's coming out with aggression that can lash out in a very adverse way to individuals. Exactly, Trina. Those drums hit that Kundalini, hit that root in that navel area and cause that Kundalini to rise, which is going to come with a lot of sexual energy. So you were feeling that at the ritual because of that. All right. yeah, so there's going to be a lot of individuals that resonate with that about understanding that they've suppressed their sexual side. Sometimes you're doing it unconsciously. Sometimes you're doing it because of guilt from childhood. Like, I'll give you an example. How many of us had parents that made you feel inhuman or evil, wrong if you touched yourself in the wrong, if you touched yourself or masturbated or anything close like that? How many of our parents would make you feel ashamed? I can raise my hand, and I'm sure a lot of other people in this room are going to raise their hand too. Now, you know what that does to you? The first person you should be able to please, arouse, and embrace and love is yourself. And if you're made to feel guilty or ashamed or embarrassed for sexually touching yourself, do you know the kind of psychosis that creates in your mind and how you carry that years and years in your life? It's very detrimental. Greetings, Jennifer. Servitors can be considered like an archetype, but they're not so much an archetype, because the archetype, okay, I put it like this. A servitor is more created from your consciousness to serve your will. When you create an archetype, it should be a reflection of yourself as yourself, not to serve or to do your bidding or your wish. The archetype you create for yourself is a reflection of the elevated level you're trying to accomplish or trying to reach. So that archetype becomes a reflection of your higher self or true self. That's a little different when you create a servitor, which is more like your servant or slave. I don't think you want to create an archetype as your servant or slave, when an archetype should be a reflection of the challenge that you do to yourself to raise yourself up to a higher or greater level. That should be what an archetype is, a reflection of your true self, not a servant self. I'll put it that way. That's right, Dark Light. Many of us were made to feel ashamed for touching ourselves. I can still hear it to this day. What are you doing, boy? But in Spanish. Okay, you feel guilty. So you're in the bathroom. You're trying to, some of y'all know this. Some of you brothers know that you're in the bathroom trying to do whatever, and you afraid that somebody gonna knock on the door or catch you. Yeah, that causes serious mental issues. Susie, that's right. Dominican Catholic parents. My parents were Puerto Rican, but they were Seventh-day Adventists. Just another extreme Christian form. Yeah. Yes, when you are not utilizing your servitor, bring that servitor back into the object that you use to create the servitor in the first place. Almost like the jinn concept we spoke about a few weeks ago. You would utilize the ring, the object, whatever, and that's their home when they're not being used. So in other words, whatever object you use to create the servitor, you will put it back in the object for them while they're not doing work for you. In other words, that's their sleeping or their rest area. I choose to be happy. Servitors remain with you until you release them. Okay? I don't release my servitors, and I don't think I ever will until I'm good and ready. My servitors are at rest when I'm not utilizing them or needing them. In other words, they're chilling in the object in the ritual room when I'm not needing them. So, yes, it will come a time where you will probably release your servitors, but until then, they're bound to you. Hey, brother, yeah, I tell the business sometimes, just a little bit, not too much. Whoa. All right, so let me ask you this, Acidian God, This unique here. I never met an individual who was a phone sex operator. Okay, so you must have a very delightful voice. If so, give a thumbs up or say yes. Number two, I can imagine that you speak with suppressed people all day. That's why they're calling you, because they're doing things in the shadows or closed doors or in the closet, so to speak, because they're embarrassed of they're embarrassed of being caught or being judged or not understood. So that I can understand. Two, now please break the stereotype for me. Some of these women that do, or people who do phone sex operation, can be obese women. I don't get the feeling or the visual that you're an obese woman. I get the feeling that your voice matches the appearance. So that's what all I'm gonna say. But yeah. And the Obsidian Goddess, I'm sure now that you've really gotten deeper into the vampiric aspect, you've been feeding off of these energies that they freely give you over the phone. So yeah, I'm sure you're taking it to another level. Ah shit, fitness trainer too. And see, I told you. I didn't see the obese. I saw the anyway, that's another story. Yeah. So, any other questions? Hit me. Yeah, I'm wearing my Giants hat because they finally won today. So I could celebrate and proudly wear the hat for the first time in a minute. Yeah, I'm sure they feed you a lot of energy. You probably come home charged. You probably gotta run 20 laps, lift weights, do some crunches, all kinds of stuff to calm that energy down that you get. You probably get home, you be like kickboxing and everything to let that energy loose. Mm-hmm. See, that's what I'm talking about, Jennifer Long. Some of the stereotypes of some of these women could be 400 pounds or more. Yeah. But I didn't get that from Obsidian Goddess. When I let the visual and the spirit hit the visual of her, I knew she was shaped, toned up. You ain't no 400 pounds. Cut it out. No, stop. Anyways, so listen. All right. Hit me with other questions. You could utilize a servitor for anything, Smooth Guy. Like, for example, you could actually bring your servitor with you when you're in the astral realm as your bodyguard, so to speak. They're working with you when you're in the astral realm as your bodyguard to protect you from vibrations or frequencies that are trying to harm you or entities trying to harm you. So yes, they can assist you. They can assist you in your astral work. So that's a very good question. And yes, they can assist you in your astral work. All right, Katildo K, I'm gonna answer this. I don't believe in psychedelics or usage of drugs. To each their own. If that's what they want to do it well. Me personally, I just feel like you should be able to work your mind and your spirit to be able to do that without the aid of that. I did do ayahuasca once. And after that, I've never done it again. That was years ago. Never felt the need to do any of that again. Because when I did it, yeah, I felt some. It was strong and things like that. But I do that on my own all the time. So it wasn't like I felt any major difference. I could tap into meditative state in a matter of 30 seconds because I've been doing it for years. I don't need to do that, and I could go deep into a meditative state. I can astral project while I'm in my ritual room in a meditative state and begin to ask. It's just because I practiced for years doing this, so I don't feel that I need to do psychedelics. Yes, I've done it once in the past, and that's it. But if people feel that's what they want, all good. Me, I just under the philosophy that what about if none of that shit was available? You'd have to learn how to do it on your own one day. So might as well start learning now. But if that's what you feel, go ahead and light it up. Get lit up, drink it up, smoke it up, whatever you feel, that's your choice. I just choose to not do it like that. All right, cool. Yes, JG. I'm not laughing at JG. I'm just laughing at if I keep trying to say JG, I'm gonna butcher the name eventually. That's some shit that you say back to back. Anyway, so I'm gonna just say brother J or sister J. You correct me which one. All right, brother J reminds me of X Clan. So if it's brother J, say yes. If it's sister, all right, brother, there you go, brother J from X Clan. Anyways, so the question was, yes, servitors are created for your purpose. Our servitors are created for your purpose. The purpose depends on you, but the reason why you're creating the servitor is to do work for you. Mind the name. Listen to the root of the name. Serve, to serve you, right? Servitor. It comes from the root serve, to serve you. So they're there to serve you, to do your bidding on your work. So yes, they're there to do your purpose. Listen, my servitor does all kinds of work for me. So whatever it is you feel that you want the servitor to work for you, that's what it is. That's all that matters. What you choose to put that servitor to do work for you, whatever that is, that's what it is. You are the origin of the servitor because you created it, Stray Panther. You created the servitor. Okay, you give it a name because that gives it an identity. That gives it an extension of your consciousness. Okay, you could create a history or background, but that's going more into the realm of creating an archetype, not a servitor. Servitor is strictly to serve you. Archetype is an ideal or metaphor of your true or higher self. So it's a little different there. But yeah, you could create a story if you choose to, but you don't want to give too much consciousness to your servitor because now you're giving too much consciousness. Anyways, you just want to give it enough consciousness where it obeys you and follows your rules. If you give it too much, yeah, they can kind of, servitors have been known to be a little testy sometimes too, okay? Because it is reflection of some part of yourself when you create a servitor. That's why I said you should do the work of the abyssic mind, the shadow self, before you create a servitor, because the servitor is a reflection of your conscious, unconscious, subconscious mind. So if there's parts you haven't dealt with, that servitor can rebel in the sense that it can rebel from that part of yourself that you're not dealing with. So try to understand that when you're creating a servitor. Yeah, it's like creating your own pantheon, but like I said, that's more creating an archetype, more so than a servitor. Depends what you create the servitor for. Remember, if you created a servitor for vampiric purposes, then yes, it needs to constantly feed. If you create a servitor to do any other kind of work, it may not need to feed. The servitor was fed and created from your own sexual fluid, saliva, or blood. So, in essence, it's what you feed yourself is also feeding the servitor. Understand this: it's a servitor created by you, from you. So, it's an extension of you. In a loose sense, is an extension of you. So, always remember that a servitor is created from you by either your sexual fluids, your blood, your saliva. It's an extension of you. So it's like connected to you. It's a part of you. It came from your very essence. But it's an essence that you can, it's an entity created from your essence that you have control over. A servitor can bring you anything. Like you can send a servitor to tap into a financial wizard, a financial guru that you personally know, okay? A banker, an international banker who's very good with finances. You could use a servitor while that person's asleep to tap into their consciousness to receive some of the knowledge and wisdom on how to utilize the stock market, how to utilize different financial principles, money markets, things of that nature. You can utilize that, okay? The servitor is there to serve whatever need you feel fit for, okay? Always remember that. The servitor is there to basically fulfill whatever you feel you need to be fulfilled as far as work to be done. They're your servant. So if you want to send them to feed life force energy off of somebody, you can do that. If you want to tap into somebody's dream state and get knowledge and wisdom from them because they have something you need, you can do that. You understand? That's what the servitor is there. They're there to fulfill your purpose for whatever that is. In a Amber G Sawilu, in a sense, some can be, some empaths can be vampires. They're connected to that. This is why they feel people. They feel people's emotions. And remember what emotion is. Emotions are basically energy and motion. Okay? So yes, a vampire can be related to an empath, or a vampire can be an empath because they feel the emotions or energy of an individual and they tap into that. The problem is, as a vampire, if you're an empath and a vampire, is that it's even their emotions or their feelings or things that that individual is going through, you're going to feel it on a heightened level because you're a vampire as well, more so than just a regular empath. You're going to feel it on such a higher level because you've fed off of their energy. You've tapped into their life force energy. So you have a greater connection to this person than just a regular empath. So it can be, yes, they are related, but it can be a little more detrimental to the individual if you're a vampire and an empath at the same time. You're going to have to really learn how to disconnect or cut off the connection to feeling the emotions and things that an individual goes through. You're going to have to really learn ways to disconnect that or build more psychic self-defense around your mind so it doesn't become something detrimental. Any other questions? I'm waiting for the questions. I know some of y'all have questions, but you're not asking. And I'm gonna tell you how I noticed. Everybody's asking about the servitors, but there's other parts that we discussed that I know people are listening, are thinking about, but they just won't ask questions. Go ahead and ask. It's okay. Yes, brother JJ, I'm gonna put my email address at the end. Remind me at the end, and I'll send you some information on this. All right, so you can better understand it, or just study up on it. All right, so I'm gonna get to the questions. I think my AC went down, so I'm super sweating here in this Florida, y'all. So you know it gets super hot if your AC ain't working. So I just have to contact my AC technician, let him know, please come and look at this ASAP, because it's hot. Hot. All right. Could you use this when dealing with soulless beings? Not sure if you believe there are such things. I've always known there are soulless beings on here. You got to understand it. Let's just clarify this one more time. All right. Servitor. Root word serve. So you can use your servitor for anything you want it to be. Anything. You're the God, you're the creator of the servitor. You can use it for anything. So yes, Jennifer, you can use it for that or anything you choose to. You're the God, you created it. It's your choice how you use it. There's no right or wrong way on how to use a servitor. So you want to choose to use it in that way, Jennifer? Yes, you can. Because you're the God who created it. It serves your purpose. So if that's your purpose, then yes, use it in that way. Demetrius Clark, were you here earlier when we discussed how to create servitors? I'll tell you one of the techniques. Have an object. You visualize the kind of servitor you want to create. It can be an animal form. It can be a shadow form. It can be any form you want it to be. Okay? And when you visualize this, you're basically visualizing also binding the servitor to the object. You do an evocation where you also, in the evocation, you give the servitor a name. So the servitor now becomes connected to you through your saliva, blood, or your sexual fluid, and you give it consciousness through that, and then you give it a name, which gives it an identity. So that's just some of the methods. That's just some of the methods on that. If you didn't catch it earlier, go back and watch the video again. It was more towards the beginning on how to really create servitors, but that's just a quick synopsis on how to do that. You could create a servitor to be your beat. No, let me stop. JG, you can create a servitor to be your sexual toy if that's what you choose. Again, I'm going to say this again, y'all. I think y'all missing it. Serve a tour. Serve. They're there to serve their creator. You are the creator. So you can use a servitor to be your sex toy. You can use a servitor to be your guide. Your protector. You can use a servitor to go feed off of energy. You can use a servitor for whatever you see fit. You created it. So whatever you feel you want to use your servitor for, by all means, do it. There's no right or wrong way on how to use a servitor. All right, Demetrius, cool. I'm in Orlando, so you know the deal. Imagine when your AC go out. You know the deal, Demetrius. Hot. Hell no, I ain't taking my hat off. No, of course I take it off sometimes, man. Just like my hat on. It's flavor, it's the connection. You understand? Don't stop. All right, could you use this one dealing with OB? Yeah, I saw you, Jennifer. I was saying, yes, you could use it. You could use your servitor for anything you want. That includes dealing with soulless beings. Yes, it's your servant. So, again, I'm going to say this for the last time tonight. You could use your servitor for anything you want. You could use your servitor to go and spank an elephant on the ass if that's what you really want to experience. You can use your servitor to go fly in the astral realm until you connect with an ancestor, and that could be your protector while you're in the astral realm. You can use a servitor for sexual purpose. You can use a servitor to feed off. You can use they're your servant. You created them. So yes, all the questions y'all keep asking, can I use a servitor for this? The answer is going to be yes, 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 because they're your servant. I can't tell you what to do with your servant. So all I'm going to keep telling you is yes, it's your servant. You created it. You created it from your lifeblood. You created it from your sexual fluid or your saliva. One of those three you created it from. So you then gave it consciousness by giving it an identity, which is giving it a name. So I can't tell you how to use your servitor. All I can tell you is your servant. So as a servant, servants listen to their master and do the work their master asks. So if that's the case, you could use a servitor for anything. Anything, anything, anything. You want to spank that booty? Send the servitor. You want to get that money? Send the servitor. You understand? You can do that for anything. They're your servants. All right. It's just like wearing a crystal for your purpose. Yes, JG, exactly. You could even bind your servitor to your crystal. And that's their home when you're not utilizing them. All right, a familiar is a spirit that is usually associated with you through DNA, family bloodline, or past lives. A servitor is created by you. A familiar is usually a spirit that was once a flesh and blood being. And they're connected with you in some way, somehow. Also, familiars are spirits who are your servants, but they were flesh and blood beings at one time. A servitor is created directly from you, meaning it never existed prior to you creating it. A familiar usually exists, and they become familiars because they're associated or connected with you some way, somehow, whether through blood, through past lives, or things of that nature. Yes, Mia, your servitor can get buck wild crazy if you don't let it out to do work. If you don't let it do what its purpose is, they can get buck wild crazy. But the reason they get buck wild crazy is because they're an extension of you. So let's say you create a servitor. you have, let's say, I'm just using this example, you have some sexual hangups, let's just say, okay? When you're creating a servitor, that hangup is also passing into the servitor, whether you realize it or not, because it's stamped within your saliva where your DNA can be found, stamped within your blood where your DNA is also found, and is stamped within your sexual fluids where your DNA is also found. So whatever your DNA code is, and if those issues are coded into that DNA, then guess what the servitor also has in it? So if that servitor, let's say, was created for sexual purposes, and you don't feed it sexual energy by letting it loose and do the work by feeding off of that, yes, it will go rogue, because that's yourself that you created, literally an extension of yourself that is rebelling against your suppression or control. Nobody likes to be controlled, not even a servitor. The way you keep it under your bound and control is reminding yourself you're the God who created it, so it has to respond and will respond to me, and I'm the one that's going to allow it to do what it does or doesn't do. You understand? Duma, the reason why it's not talked about is because people within the kinetic or conscious community have basically bypassed one religion for another. And what I mean by that is this. A lot of people who come into the kinetic community at one time or another were Christian or Muslim prior to that. So now they got some knowledge, some self-identity, some understanding about basic things of Kemet. Now they want to come into Kemet. And unfortunately, a lot of them are coming into Kemet with their minds still having religious programming under it. So then when they come into it, they're still bringing their religious programming into Kemet. So in other words, if their religion had a negative view of sex, which most of these 3 monotheistic religions have a negative view of sex, then what happens is that passes or comes along with you when you step into Kemet. Now, when you step into Kemet, you're stepping into Kemet because you can identify with it racially, meaning your race. You can identify with its supremacy of knowledge and cultivation of wisdom and things of that nature. But you're coming to it from a Western mindset, still programmed by religion, and you're trying to understand Kemetic concepts based upon your Western programming. One of the Western programming is the suppression of sex. So now you go into Kemet and you start to dig and you start to find things that make you get shocked. Like, I'll give you an example. The Papyrus of Turin. Okay? It goes into some of the things dealing on sex. And one of the things it describes the sex life of Kemetic individuals was this. A woman at the age of 13 or 14, God damn it, this damn bug. At the age of 13 or 14 were sent to the temple. They were sent to the temple to learn how to please a man. Their husbands were usually of the age of 23, 24, 25. When they came out of the temple and were initiated, learned the arts of pleasure, the science of sex, and the art of sex, they came out with the ability to please their man. However, most men in Kemet at that time did not want a virgin. They wanted a woman with experience who knew how to please their man. That's opposed to modern day mentality that's based upon the monotheistic religions of virgins being pure, being right. You know, you're going to have these 72 virgins when you get to heaven in Islam, things of that nature. So here we go back into Kemet, and they didn't want virgins. They want a woman with experience. So they sent these women at the age of 13, 14, 15 to go in the temple to learn the arts and science of sex to be able to please their man. So that's one thing. Here's another thing. When these women came out of the temple, they were either 14, 15 or so. The man was 23 or 24. In today's world, these dudes would be locked up because they would be considered molesters of children. Totally different morality and mindset than we have today. So now here we go. We're going into a Kemet and we're finding out all these strange things that don't sit quite well with me because I'm still coming from a Western mindset, Western programming. Then you have the conflict. So instead of dealing with it or discussing it, they'd rather ignore it or try to change it into some tantric, Dravidian kind of tantric, and the Commissions never really practiced it like this. It was more of tantric way. It really was symbolic bullshit. They have pictures in a certain cave where Hatshepsut was getting done up doggy style. And it wasn't even her man. Okay? But what do you do when you find this out? And you just came into Kemet and you come from a Western mindset and there she is getting smashed doggy style and the drawing is in a cave. It doesn't make sense. So automatically, well, I thought they, I was taught by Muata Ashby that, they cultivated, they didn't really have sex. Listen, dude, if we having sex now and those are our ancestors, they were smashing back then too. We got to cut out the spooky concept where we want to make everything so pure and righteous and right and get away from that nonsense and really get down to the nitty gritty and say, these ancient Commissions did not think anything like we think today. They would be laughing at our suppression, laughing at our stupidity. You understand? That's the problem that happened with a lot of these individuals is when they left Kemet and came into this, they brought that mentality into there. So it kind of defeats the purpose because you're still bringing the Western mindset into an ancient tradition and they thought completely different than we think today. So that's one of the reasons, Duma, I would tell you that they really don't deal with that is because exactly that. You don't, Straight Panther, you don't have to have any Tantra experience for vampire sex magic. You just have to understand the vampire philosophy, understand about feeding or draining energy. Okay? So you have to know how to, you understand how to drain energy properly because when you come to vampire sex magic and you do a ritual, like there's a ritual for Kali that you do in vampire magic. And the purpose is you're not just doing it because you want money and your guy's going to come reach the orgasmic state and the sex magic state for that to manifest. You're doing it more for the purpose of increasing your prana, your chi, or your sechem, your life force, or whatever the case may be. So what you understand is in certain aspects of vampire sex magic, there's a point where one or the other partner will get to drain for a moment, and then you feed that, and then that other partner will get to drain, and then you feed the energy, and you alternate. It's an alternating current. It's the Kali and Shiva concept. It's the it's the Asar and Aset concept. It's the divine union concept. And so far, that's symbolic meaning of tantric. But as far as the Tantra and understanding how the Tantra is, no. Vama Marga Tantra, yes, would be more connected to vampire magic. Okay, Vama Marga Tantra is the left-hand path aspect of Tantra, which is the aspect of actually releasing in an orgasmic state, not holding and cultivating and abstaining. That's not Vama Marga Tantra, and that's not vampiric sex magic Tantra. But because you're draining energy in vampire sex magic, you have to understand how to drain without harming someone. You have to understand why you drain and the ways to drain without harming someone. And in a sexual union, there's an exchange of that energy that alternates between the two. Okay, JG asks, if you have a lack of belief because a person hasn't had much validation when performing ritual, will this affect creating a servitor? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Your desire, your intention, and your belief are very key when creating a servitor. Okay? if you believe something is not going to work because it hasn't worked for you in the past, when you try to do different rituals or things like that, you might fail in your endeavors. You have to know. You can't, I'm going beyond belief. You have to know that you're going to receive results. You have to know that this works. If you doubt for anything, you just defeated the purpose of doing the ritual. If you doubt that you can create a servitor, you will not create a servitor. You have to actually know you have the power and ability to do this. Even if you failed 1,000 times over, it only takes one time to succeed in something for it to actually work. So keep that in mind when you're working rituals. Keep that in mind if you're going to create a servitor. You can't have a failure mind. You have to have a successful mind. All right, any other questions, people? Any other questions, my people? There's a book, while y'all coming up with questions, there's a book y'all should investigate called Demons of the Flesh. It goes into Vampyre from its roots and origins in India, the Dravidian roots, all the way through the Western system of sex magic to today. Very good book to study, research, and understand it. Very good book. So check that book out. It's called Demons of the Flesh. I'll tell y'all the author while I'm waiting for questions. Okay, the authors are, the name of the book in totality, Demons of the Flesh, The Complete Guide to Left-Hand Path Sex Magic by Nicholas Schreck and Zena Schreck. Reminds me of the damn Shrek movies. All right. So check out that book if y'all get a chance. All right, let me see what we got. Okay, how can you find out? All right, first of all, there's a good book to get. One of y'all had recommended this to us in the past. I'm trying to understand it even more now. This is a good book to get, the Ascetian Bible. Okay, it discussed the 3 vampiric lines. Then get any books or information on Set, and whatever one of these, after it describes it, go into great detail about it, whatever one of these lineages or archetypes you feel mostly connected to, that's most likely the lineage you come from. For example, I am connected to the Set vampiric bloodline. That's where most of my understanding, concepts, and workings come from. That's where I'm connected to. And I found that out through my own readings, through my own rituals and things of that nature. You can perform rituals to find this out too. But you definitely want to check into that because you are connected to one of these vampiric lines. I'm more of the Setian vampiric line only because I am a nonconformist, and I am a person that is an adversary to the bullcrap of society and programming and traditions and things of that nature. I am against all of that. Okay. I'm also a person who believes that I create my own destiny. I'm my own God, much as Set did. Set didn't want to follow the Asarian tradition that was being created at that time. Set was opposed to many of its concepts. Set didn't want to worship anything outside of himself. Set believed in mastery of self. I'm my own God. Whereas the Saurians tend to connect to Heru and Ra and things of that nature. Set was opposed to all of that. Okay. Where some of the Setians still put Heru and others in esteemed seats. Setians don't believe in none of that. Your own throne is all that matters. So that's one of the ways I figured that out. And it's a good study to really find it out. It's a good study. And I'll also tell you another way. The priesthood of Set, okay? Many of them perform rituals in the dark. Are you attracted to the dark? Do you do a lot of things in the dark? Many of the priesthood of Set that are now consciously becoming aware of it would do many of these things we're learning about today, like vampire magic and things of that nature. Unconsciously, you've been doing that most of your life. But now that you consciously becoming aware of it, you're starting to understand it. And if you did a lot of these things in the dark or in the shadows or in a hidden way, it's because you are connected to that priesthood of Set. Set is connected to darkness, connected to chaos, connected to storm. You have to understand that part within yourself to really determine which priesthood or lineage line you may come from as far as the priesthood, okay? So you have to really dig deep to really connect to those aspects. There were certain things that the priesthood of Set did that today would seem uncommon or not accepted as much, okay? But there was an aspect where you knew how to tap into the sexual force. You knew how to seduce individuals for the sexual force, sexual energy. And you did this unconsciously most of your life till you realize it now. Never realizing until now, or most recent, a few years ago, that, whoa, I did this all my whole life. Like I really just tapped into that. I used to, connect with people's energy and frequency, and they just felt like they had to know me. They had to connect to me. They had to touch me. They had to do something. If you're that kind of person that you found out that people just had to connect to or just touch you or need to be around you, or they just were just totally aroused just from being around you or whatever the case, you may be from that bloodline. I mean, straight up. Not bloodline, I should say, as in you're physically descended, more spiritually descended to the priesthood. Okay, I don't want to get it twisted and say you're physically DNA-wise from there, because you may not be. I'm saying spiritual lineage, your kinetic spiritual lineage as far as the priesthood. Okay, I'm more connected to that. I'm not into the Asarian priesthood who does everything in the sun, the rituals of the sun, connecting to the sun and everything else. That's not really me. I like being in the sun. I like going out in the sun and everything else, but I feel more alive in the night. I don't go to sleep early. I go to sleep 2, 3 in the morning sometimes, be up at 7 or 8 right away. Okay, I do my rituals in the night. I feel more alive in the night. I feel more alive when I see the moon. Okay, that also connects me to the Tahuti consciousness, because Tahuti is connected to the moon and the phases of the moon. So a lot of the priesthood of Set did rituals according to the phases of the moon. Okay, so you have to really dig deep into this part of yourself to really understand which spiritual priesthood you may be from, what lineage you're from. That's a perfect thing to do, JG. If that's something you want to do it. But I'm going to tell you this, before you do that, make sure that you've covered all the bases for the purpose, all the angles for the loopholes that can hurt you or affect you. make sure you close all the doors that can affect you, and you've dealt with every aspect of yourself as well. Then create that servitor to do the work of a spiritual download. But you got to make sure you've dealt with your own issues and problems before you get there, before you stamp your energy in the creation of that servitor through your DNA, which is through your saliva, blood, or sexual fluid. So you want to make sure of that. No ifs, ands, or buts. Peace, my V. Nice to see you. So make sure you understand that part. All right. To go further, while we're sitting here, to go further, some of y'all ask yourself this question, okay? Have you ever found yourself in weird situations sexually? Have you ever found yourself in weird places sexually? Locations I'm talking about. Have you ever found yourself doing sexual things that don't seem to be the norm for you, but then you did it and empowered yourself through it? If you could say yes to all those questions, then you possibly could be from the priesthood of Set. This priesthood passed down in West Africa became connected to the Congo region and the Dahomey Benin region. And in time, this priesthood passed into what is known as the Gay Day today. There's 10 distinct Gay Day families, something that a lot of people do not really talk about a lot. There's 10 distinct Gay Day family, and one of them really is exclusively connected to the priesthood of Set, and they're connected to the sexual rights of the priesthood of Set. So there's an aspect that if you've also found yourself connected to the Gay Day and work with the Gay Day energy, but more so the sexual energy of the Gay Day and working with the sexual aspects of the Gay Day, then you're from that priesthood. So you got to understand all this stuff is connected into one. You just have to start taking the puzzles and connecting the dots and putting them in together. Yeah, son. Worshipping at your altar, huh? That's a very symbolic term. Very symbolic way to put it, Trina. See? I'm telling you, when y'all start finding out these things, you start to really understand, yo, I'm connected to some of these things. Unconsciously, I was doing these things, but it was almost like you were guided to do these things, y'all. So you start to understand it. You start to say, whoa, this is why I've been in these situations or connected to these activities or done it in such a fashion or way, because you're really connecting to this part unconsciously. You're connected to that priesthood spiritually. Now you're starting to become consciously aware of it. You understand? So this is why, for example, you may ask, well, damn, Brother Ravana, why do you jump from Vampyre to Luciferian to Jinn to this or that? It's because they're all interconnected. And when you understand that they're all interconnected, you learn how to put the pieces together. You start to have a smooth working and a smooth flow on how to really work this magic for your benefit, for your growth, for your mastery of self. You put it all together and you understand it. and then you learn how to really work it personalized, meaning you work it for your personal level, from your personal understanding, then you get greater benefits. Okay? So you have to understand all of these things and how they're all intertwined to give you a greater understanding to do greater works for greater results. Exactly, Trina. You have to, you know this part of yourself, and you're really coming into the consciousness and embracing that part of yourself. It's only going to get more powerful. But I just gave y'all some examples so y'all could go into your own records in your mind and start to think about those things. Start to think about all the events and the different situations that occurred and see, yo, do I really belong to this? Like, I may really be a part of this vampiric stuff and never realized it. I'm hardwired differently. People just need to be around me or feel like they just got to be next to me or touch me. Why is it that people react to me differently than other people? Like, you could be around somebody and you find them attractive, but you don't get aroused that much. Then you could be around somebody else and you just like through the roof wanting to feed off of that sexual energy. You just gotta have it. You understand? And if you're that person that makes people feel like I just gotta have it, yeah, you could be one of those vampires that naturally has been there. Naturally always was that since you were a young individual, and you possess this ability to seduce people unconsciously. And now that you're consciously aware of it, you become even more effective with it. You may be that individual that people just literally just had to have you and did weird, crazy things to get your attention. Yep, that's you. Then you may be connected to that vampiric lineage. But you have to really dig into yourself to really know it. That's good, Trina. That's all that counts. Is once you start to really make that connection to being who you are, back to yourself, you start to really awaken to yourself. You empower yourself to greater heights. Then you'll start really see even more results in your life that are going to really assist you in your growth. Really assist you in your growth. All right. Any more questions? Any more? Dude. Damn bugs, man. That's good. Like I said, sometimes we create things unconsciously. And when we do this unconsciously, things happen. And when those things happen, you find out years later, yo, I was doing this automatically. People, listen, a lot of people who are naturally inclined to be into magic and sorcery and things of that nature, this was naturally a part of you. And you can tell the difference. You're naturally inclined to this. You naturally are able to help people, give answers, things of that nature. The problem comes in and is this. Is that you have too many people, let's say nowadays, who are trying to say that they're magicians and witches. Like everybody on social media all of a sudden is a witch. Everybody is all of a sudden a goddamn wizard, sorcerer, tantric sex magician. And you could tell this is a phenomenon. This is people following and doing things. You understand? And they're not really natural about it. You could tell who's really naturally inclined for this and really connected to this. And then you can see who's just there because it's a fad and everybody wants to claim some shit now. And I'm so great about this and great this. I remember years ago when I got into this years ago, okay? Listen, there was hardly anybody into this stuff. Calling yourself a witch was not something that people just did. And now all of a sudden, everybody wants to be a goddamn witch. You understand? Nah, I ain't buying it. There's reasons, trust me, that I get off of social media for years at a time. And then I come back. And I come back for an express purpose, like promoting my website, serpentcrystals.com. I do that for a few months, and then I'll disappear again. It's because I'm not going to be caught up in the delusions and the psychosis that's created through social media, where everybody wants to be somebody, and 90% of people are nobody. They all want to be some hot shit. They all want to be divine and great, and I'm the next goddess, the next god, the king, the pharaoh, the pimp. And most of them are living in their mama's basement, fucking eating, still using food stamps and things of that nature. When does it come a point where your titles that you take reflect your actual existence? It comes a time where you have to reflect this actual existence of who and what you really are. Not just because everybody all of a sudden wants to be a witch. Everybody wants to be, oh, my family did hoodoo, so I'm doing hoodoo now. Listen, it's a goddamn lie too, because I guarantee you that most of these people's family did hoodoo so long ago that that is a large gap between them all of a sudden trying to reclaim it as something they're doing now. No, I ain't buying that shit. I've been around this shit too long to really, no, sorry. Not buying this crap, man. They can't really affect your servitor because you created it. I can tell you this, a lot of your work, keep in secret, y'all. Keep it private unless you have a certain inner circle or a certain group of people you want to share it with. Do not just share it with anybody. So yeah, you could tell somebody about your servitor. It won't really affect it because you're the master and control of that servitor. There's nothing they can do to that servitor unless you give up the secrets on how you created it. You're the master over it, so you are the one who creates it. But I would not go around telling people much of anything I do in my private work. I see people on social media all the time. I'm healing now, and I have to heal myself. Guess what? I come 2 years later, and guess what they're still saying, y'all? I'm healing. Why the hell are you telling the world that you're healing? That's not for the world to know that you're healing. That's some personal shit that you're doing on a personal level to heal yourself. Heal yourself. If you feel like you got to tell everybody on Instagram, Facebook, and any other social media that you're healing over and over and over, you ain't healing. You're just an attention whore. You just want all the attention and people to say, why are you healing? Oh, goddess, go and heal yourself. Oh, brother, heal yourself. Yes, all this bullshit I hear is people seeking attention for something that you should be keeping private in the first place. If you're really serious about your healing, hardly anybody knows you're healing. You just gonna be about your business and taking care of it. So when you come back out and people see you again, you've already done the work to heal yourself. But if you're constantly promoting, oh, I heal myself, I'm healing myself, brother, I can't pay attention to you right now because I'm healing myself. Get the fuck out of here, please. You can tell your partner, JG. You can tell your partner, and especially if your partner and you work on the same aspect or similar aspects of the occult, you could do that. But I'm saying telling people that are just not in your circle, I wouldn't suggest it. Okay, Obsidian Goddess, when you watch what on Sunday? All right, Dark Light, they were, while she's answering that, Dark Light, they were two different priesthoods, but the concept of Set empowering and trying to obtain all the knowledge, wisdom that he could from all the gods is connected to the concept of Tahuti being the god of knowledge and wisdom. You understand? But Set became the greatest of gods because he basically absorbed the power or gifts or abilities of all the gods into himself as one. So he absorbed the knowledge, the aspect of Tahuti to absorb knowledge or understand knowledge and wisdom. He absorbed the power of Ampu and be able to see. You gotta understand it. This, just trust me. Now, don't trust me actually, but Set was an absorber. He was a vampire. Even way back then, he would find a way to be able to have the power of the gods become as his own. So the concept of Set killing Heru wasn't just a jealousy thing, as people say. What Set was really trying to do was get the power that Heru represented and absorb it into himself to become even greater. So the more of these gods he absorbed their power, the more he became the greatest of gods, because he had attributes and their powers all into one himself, all into self. So that's how they're related. They're not the same, but they're related to each other in the concept of them both seeking knowledge and wisdom, or being the master of knowledge and wisdom. Oh, watching me on Sundays, you bounce off what? Well, that's a secret. That's a Chinese secret. I can't reveal that in public. Why you be bouncing off the walls on Sundays? You want to find out, you can email me, but that's a secret. I can't put my secret out here. I can't put the secrets of Obsidian Goddess. I got to keep some of them secrets for myself. Because then, if I give you all the secrets, no, I'm playing. Well, actually, I'm not playing, but I am playing. You got to figure out what part I'm playing about. But I could just tell you this. If you feel like that on Sundays when you watch me, then there's something that's happened on a alchemical level that you're feeling charged up and energy-wise. Good. You should go zip lining. Keep doing that. That's fun. Though the first time I did it, I almost shit my pants when I did it, but that's a different story. But anyways, yeah. So Obsidian Goddess, there's a reason that's happening. It's in a spiritual, alchemical level. But I'm going to keep that privately. If you want to find out, you email me on that. But it is something that's happening that's charging you up. That's my email address for all those who want to email me. Also, go check out. Let's see if it's still here. No, it's not there. All right, also go check out this website. All right. Let me actually put the link so it works even better so you could do it while I'm sitting here. Check out this website. It was put together for y'all. It has a focus on vampire magic, a focus on working with herbs, a focus on it's really focused on the left-hand path, but it's also focused on everything. But a lot of it is focused on the left-hand path. Like I have human bone powder for people who want to work necromancy or vampiric magic. I have a necromantic vampiric coffin. I have the vampire candle for astral projection to assist you if you're going to do this vampire magic and you astrally project. There's a candle there. Give me a second. I'm going to connect the link to the website, the actual link. All right. So there's the actual link. Go on there. There's a vampiric magic part. There's all kinds of stuff there, but it's a lot of it is connected to connecting with people who are looking for the vampiric aspect or kinetic aspect or things like that. It's a work in progress because I'm not gonna get all the products I want. People ain't buying products. That would make no sense. So I have inventory, but it's not a vast inventory. It's limited to see what people are going to buy, what they're going to get, and what's the focus of what they really want. Then I'm going to add more to that. But like I said, I have the vampiric candles, I have vampiric oils, I have the human bone powder, I have the vampiric ankh. If you want to work the vampiric magic, you should be rocking your vampiric ankh. Consecrate it, charge it with your energy. I have the vampiric book, Sechem Pep. If you want to get a basic understanding of vampire magic and how to work it, get that book. It's in this website, serpentcrystals.com. Check that out, y'all. Anonymous mascot, that's true. We're all energy vampires. The difference is how you consciously use it or don't use it. Okay? We all, on some level, feed off of everybody. That's 100% correct. But when you consciously do it, you know how to cultivate that energy to charge yourself up or to utilize it to gain some knowledge, some wisdom, or whatever the case or your purpose is. That's the difference between unconsciously and consciously doing it. When you're consciously doing it, there's a purpose, an intent, and a desire that will reveal and result in greater benefit to you. So if there's no other questions, there's my email address, Occultist99@outlook.com, as well as the website, serpentcrystals.com. That's for anything related to vampiric. It's there. We have also a section on chakras. You need to know chakras when you work in vampiric magic. Okay. There's a section there on herbs, how to utilize herbs, working with herbs. There's a section there on oils, ritual oils. Black arts oils essential for working vampiric or necromancy. Abramelin oil is good for doing demonic integration. That's on there. What else we have? We have spirit guide oil, which is good when working with spirits or trying to communicate with spirits. We have all kinds of herbs from High John the Conqueror root herb to wormwood, which is good for communicating with. So there's all kinds of stuff there, y'all. Check it out. If you're really on a vampiric, check it out. All right. So next week, that's next week. On Sunday next week, we'll have another lecture. I'm not sure what the topic will be yet. I'll come up with the topic. I'll create it probably tomorrow. Y'all see the link for it or you'll get the notification. So we'll meet here again Sunday at 7 o'clock. You want to contact me, darkcultist99@outlook.com. I'm on Instagram under darkcultist99, and I have a Facebook page temporarily for now under Ravana Noon. That's R. Let me write this in there too, because some people might get confused. Ravana Noon. I'm getting there. I had to put a brief intermission into that because it took me a while to get the website and get everything in order. Now I'm done with that. I'm working on it. It's not so much a university, it is a order, and it's called Order of the, I'll put it here, Order of the Black Serpent. All right, that's the name of the order, so pay attention. You'll see something coming out with that soon. It's going to be 12 degrees. That's what we're working on right now. It's 12 degrees. All right, so I'm back on working on that, but I have to take time away to get this together. All right, so I'll see y'all next Sunday at 7 o'clock. Look out for the topic. And if you have ideas for topics, email me as well at Occultist99@outlook.com. All right, if you have any ideas for topics, hit me up on that. But I might do something connected with this or something different. All right, y'all. Peace.